Have you ever made a choice so private you never thought the truth would come back to find you? Claire Eastwood was a single mother by decision, not accident. She never asked for permission, never sought a partner, and certainly never planned to bring a child into a world built on business suits and billion-dollar deals. But then life happened. Her new job, a high-security contract, a CEO known for silence, precision, and never mixing the personal with the professional. Until the day he saw her son, and paused. What if the man signing your paychecks was also the one who unknowingly gave you your child? What would you do? Would you run confess, or wait silently, hoping he never connects the dots? This is a story about legacy, forgiveness, and the kind of love that doesn't arrive with grand gestures, but with quiet choices made day after day. So take a breath, ask yourself what you would have done, and come closer. Because once you hear what happened when a millionaire CEO met the son he never knew he had, you want to be able to walk away, like, share, and subscribe to Shining Stories for more heartfelt journeys. Now, let S begin. She wasn't planning on going back to corporate, not after Liam. Claire Eastwood had made peace with that choice 3 winters ago, sitting on the edge of a rented twin bed in a small apartment outside Spokane, watching snow gather on the windowsill like a silent decision. Life had become quieter, then reduced to bottle feedings, budgeting spreadsheets, and the gentle rhythm of bedtime lullabies. She didn't resent it. She didn't miss her old job titles, or the silk blouses that used to hang like medals in her closet. What she did miss every now and then was the feeling of being needed for her mind, not just her care, not just her patience, but for that precise, sharp part of her brain that once translated contracts between billion-dollar firms without losing a comma. She hadn't checked her LinkedIn in months, so when the message arrived from a recruiter at Ward Biotech Corporation, she thought it was spam. Confidential interpreter inquiry urgent. Claire almost deleted it, but something about the signature caught her eye. Nathaniel Ward CEO, D read about him before. The so-called silent storm of the West Coast pharmaceutical industry. Brilliant, uncompromising, a man who'd built an empire not with charisma, but calculation, the kind of person who didn't make mistakes. So why was his name on an email to her? She clicked. The offer was as surreal as it was detailed, a 6-month contract as the lead Mandarin English interpreter for a highly sensitive merger between Ward Biotech and a Chinese medical research group. Pay triple her last corporate salary, housing stipend included, non-disclosure agreement mandatory, children strictly prohibited from office premises. She read that clause twice, bolded, underlined, final. Liam S. cough echoed from the living room, 3 years old, still waking up in the middle of the night, asking about clouds and shadows. Claire S. heart tightened. She didn't want to leave him, but she also remembered the IVF bill that still hovered like frost on her credit score, the tiny savings account that barely kept up with daycare, and the quiet, lingering sense that she was beginning to disappear inside motherhood. She signed the contract the next morning. The interview wasn't what she expected. No glossy HR presentation, no small talk about career goals, just a security badge, a locked file room, and 30 minutes to review a merger briefing in 2 languages, summarize the nuances aloud, and correct legal phrasing on a digital transcript. Claire finished in 27 minutes. She didn't smile. She didn't fumble. She was back in the zone. 3 days later, a black envelope arrived at her door with the Ward Biotech seal and a start date. There was no welcome letter, just a note. Punctuality speaks louder than loyalty. See you Monday. N.W. It wasn't exactly warm, but it was clear, and Claire respected clear. The company put her in a modest 2-bedroom corporate apartment in Seattle, 10 minutes from headquarters. She'd insisted on bringing Liam, though no one had asked. The schedule would be grueling, 12-hour workdays, rotating briefings, and document reviews. But Liam was used to her rhythm. She told him it was a game. Mommy S. working for the science people, she said one night, packing his snack bag with alphabet crackers. You'll be my secret sidekick. Okay. He giggled, like Batman. She smiled, smarter than Batman. By the end of her first week, Claire had memorized every hallway, every security checkpoint, and every exit she could use in case Liam needed to disappear quickly. She bought a secondhand tablet, loaded it with educational games, and taught him how to keep his volume low. She even made friends with the receptionist on the 12th floor, who agreed to leave apple juice and post-it note drawings from the printer fairy. Everything ran like clockwork, efficient, invisible, until Friday. That morning. Claire arrived early. Liam had a low-grade fever, so she tucked him under her desk with a blanket and a thermos of chamomile tea. She adjusted her headset and opened her laptop, fingers poised. She didn't hear the elevator, didn't hear the door open. She only heard a voice low, clipped, curious. Who's the little guy? Her heart stopped. Claire looked up, and there he was, Nathaniel Ward. No entourage, no press folder, just a man in rolled-up sleeves, hair slightly damp from the drizzle outside, holding a coffee he clearly hadn't sipped. His gaze shifted from her face to the small figure behind the desk, then back again. Claire froze. Her voice caught. Liam looked up with wide eyes and said, "Hi." Nathaniel blinked. Slowly, "Hi." Then, to Claire, "Is he yours?" The room narrowed, time slowed, her throat dried. Yes, he nodded. Once, as if running an internal calculation. Right. I see. And with that, he turned and left. No comment, no reprimand. The door closed behind him like a verdict. Claire didn't move. Liam whispered, "Did I mess up?" She leaned down, kissed his head. "No, baby, you were perfect." But her stomach said otherwise. That night, she found a note on her keyboard, a small square of yellow paper, written in clean, looping script. I never liked that clause anyway. NW. She stared at it for a full 5 minutes, then tucked it into her notebook, just behind a photo of Liam holding a leaf. For the next 3 days, Nathaniel Ward didn't show up on the 12th floor. Claire wasn't as sure if that was good news or bad. The post-it note stayed in her notebook, tucked behind Liam's photo like a whisper she didn't quite believe. No one mentioned the incident, no emails, no phone calls, just the same controlled flow of documents, negotiations, and quietly murmured translations. But Claire felt it like static in the air before a thunderstorm. Nathaniel had seen her son. He had looked at Liam not like a stranger would, not with irritation or surprise. There had been something else. Recognition. Maybe just a flicker, but enough to rattle her. She tried to convince herself it was nothing. Rich men weren't known for emotional transparency. He probably just wasn't used to children in the workplace. That was all. Still, when she entered the office on Monday, her shoulders stiffened. She checked twice before opening the conference room door. Liam was tucked quietly behind the folding screen, his tablet balanced on a pillow, eyes focused on a game about sorting dinosaurs by species. He glanced up. "Is the boss coming today?" Claire blinked. "Why do you ask?" Liam shrugged. He looked sad. She felt a pinch in her chest. "You only saw him once. He looked like he missed something." Claire said nothing. That Wednesday, Nathaniel came back. It was just past 9:00 a.m. Claire was at her desk, headphones on, eyes skimming through a draft of a patent clause that had been mistranslated twice in 3 versions. Liam was home with a babysitter for once his fever had passed, but she'd finally managed to secure help for a day. She didn't hear the footsteps, only a calm voice from behind. "Working remotely today." She spun around, startled. "Mr. Ward." He gave a slight smile. "Nathaniel, please, I'm not here to scare you." She stood, instinctively defensive. "Liam is not here today. I made sure. I'm not here to reprimand you. Claire." She blinked. The way he said her name clear, intentional, made her throat tighten. He continued. There's a draft of the Mandarin contract that needs adjusting. It's time-sensitive, and frankly, no one else on staff can navigate the layered phrasing like you do." She nodded slowly. "Give me 20 minutes." He hesitated. "May I wait?" Her brow furrowed. "Here." He glanced around the modest glass room. "Unless you'd rather I pace the hallway." She gave a small, reluctant smile. "Suit yourself." Nathaniel settled quietly in the chair across from her. No fuss, no questions. As Claire scanned the document, she felt his presence still attentive, but not intrusive. He didn't check his phone, He didn't rush her. Occasionally, his eyes drifted toward the edge of her desk, where a drawing Liam had made of mommy and space dinosaurs peeked out beneath a legal folder. You know, he said after a pause, he reminds me of someone. Claire didn't look up. A nephew. No. She felt the shift in the room. I used to volunteer for a medical study, Nathaniel said slowly, right after grad school. It included fertility research, anonymized, of course. Claire froze. Her pen hovered mid-stroke. I signed the paperwork and forgot about it. He continued. It felt like a legacy, something abstract, nothing real. She turned to face him, her voice low. Why are you telling me this? Nathaniel's eyes met hers. Steady. Serious. Because when I saw your son, Claire, I didn't just recognize his face. I recognized the way he looked at me. Her throat closed. The words hovered between them, unspoken but undeniable. I didn't know, she whispered. Not until recently. It was all anonymous. A friend helped me choose. We didn't ask questions. I'm not accusing you, he said gently. Then what are you doing? He exhaled, a sound caught between confusion and restraint, trying to figure out what this means, what I should do, if I'm allowed to care. Claire's chest tightened. She'd built walls for 3 years, reinforced them with motherhood and midnight feedings and the quiet loneliness of doing it all alone. And now here was a man uninvited, unplanned, asking to knock gently at that door. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she said. I know. They sat in silence for a long moment, the only sound the quiet hum of the office lights above. Then Nathaniel stood. I'll let you work. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the frame. Claire, I never imagined I'd meet someone like him. Or you. But now that I have, I don't think I can just forget. And then he left. Claire stared at the door for a long time after it closed. That evening, as she tucked Liam into bed, he looked up with sleepy eyes. Was he mad? She brushed his hair back. No, honey. Just surprised. Will he come back? Claire's voice caught. I think he already did. Liam nodded as if that settled it. Then he curled into her side, the same way he always did, and whispered, You and me. Claire kissed his forehead. Always. The days after their conversation moved like mist quiet, uncertain, full of shapes not yet named. Nathaniel didn't come back the next morning, or the one after. Claire told herself it was better that way, clearer, easier. But Liam kept asking, Is the tall man coming to work again? Why does he look like he knows me? Will he bring the paper planes again? Claire offered neutral answers. He is busy. He's just nice. He might. But even she didn't believe herself anymore. Nathaniel showed up again on a Friday, this time, with a folder in one hand and a model airplane in the other. Liam's eyes lit up the moment he saw him. You came back. Nathaniel crouched beside him. Of course I did. You said I had to see the Bat episode. Claire stood in the doorway, arms folded, unsure of how to position herself in the moment. Nathaniel looked up at her and smiled, not corporate, not calculated, just present. Do you mind, he asked? She shook her head, slowly, as the two of them huddled over the tablet, talking about wingspans and echolocation. Claire walked to her desk and pretended to work, but her thoughts raced. She watched the way Liam tilted his head while listening, just like Nathaniel did in meetings. She noticed how he paused before answering a question, hands folded carefully, one thumb circling the other. Claire had seen that exact posture before on a screen years ago, in a recorded keynote where Nathaniel explained gene therapy to skeptical investors. The similarity was unnerving and undeniable. That night, after Liam fell asleep, Claire pulled out the old manila envelope from the back of her closet. She hadn't opened it in over 3 years. Inside her IVF paperwork, donor profile summaries, handwritten notes from her best friend, Mallory, who had worked at the clinic. There was no name, of course, just a code. Donor number 221, education Ivy League, double major, fields, finance and linguistics, health excellent, notes reserved, introspective, marked open to contact after 18. Claire remembered Mallory S.'s voice in her head from back then. He S. not flashy, but he S. thoughtful, logical. You D like that. Stable. You know Claire had chosen him in a moment of exhaustion, of resolve, of wanting to take her life back from a marriage that never gave her a child or peace. She hadn't cared who the man was. She'd cared that she could become a mother on her own terms. And now, she was starting to believe fate had different plans. The following week, Nathaniel began showing up more regularly, sometimes with work-related questions, other times just to say hello. He and Liam played quietly in the corner while Claire typed. They talked about gravity and wind resistance, jellyfish and paper circuits. Claire watched from the sidelines, half comforted, half overwhelmed. Her heart was starting to betray her logic. One afternoon, as Liam napped under a blanket in her office, Nathaniel lingered longer than usual. Claire made tea. They sat in silence. I was raised by a single father, Nathaniel said finally. He was a mechanical engineer, brilliant man, but emotionally absent. Claire nodded, listening. He loved me, I think, but he didn't know how to show it. He gave me structure, opportunity, but not softness. Claire looked at him. And you thought you'd become him. Nathaniel gave a dry laugh. No, I thought I'd avoid it by never becoming a father at all. The silence wrapped around them, gentle but tight. Claire leaned forward. You are not like him. He didn't answer right away. Then, softly, you don't know that. I see how Liam looks at you. Nathaniel S. gaze met hers. And how do you look at me? Claire froze. She hadn't prepared for that. Not the question, not the implication, not the part of her that wanted to say, like someone I didn't know I was waiting for. Instead, she said, like someone who's getting harder to pretend around. Nathaniel nodded. No smugness, just a quiet gravity. I feel it too. Later that night, Claire sat by the window while Liam slept. The streetlights glowed amber through the blinds. She held the donor file in her lap, thumbing the corner of the page. Could she really tell him? What would it do to Liam? To Nathaniel. To her, she remembered every sleepless night with Liam in her arms, every whispered story, every fear she kept buried because there was no one to carry it with her. Would telling the truth mean sharing the burden or making it heavier? Her fingers trembled. She wasn't ready, not yet, but the echo of the past was no longer distant. It was breathing beside her. The confession came not with thunder, but with a whisper. It was a rainy Tuesday, the kind that blurred city lines and soaked through even the thickest certainty. Nathaniel had offered to walk Liam through the company garden again, a quiet corner of Ward Biotech, usually reserved for board members seeking air or perspective. Liam loved it. The plants, the fountains, the gravel paths that curved like secret trails. Claire had hesitated, as always. But Liam S.'s smile disarmed her resistance. 30 minutes, she said, handing over the tiny backpack of snacks and wipes. Nathaniel nodded. He'll be back before your coffee gets cold. He was wrong. Her coffee cooled to stone. They stayed nearly an hour. Claire paced her office, thoughts in spirals. She trusted Nathaniel more than she wanted to admit. But part of her still feared the space between them, what could grow there if she didn't guard it. When they returned, Liam rushed in with muddy shoes and a leaf pressed to his forehead. I am a tree wizard, he announced proudly. Nathaniel followed, slightly out of breath, amusement in his eyes. Claire knelt down. What does a tree wizard do? Liam whispered. He keeps secrets and makes them bloom. She looked up at Nathaniel. He was already watching her. That evening, after work, Nathaniel texted, Would you have dinner with me? No agenda, just food and honesty. Claire stared at the message for a long minute, then typed, Come by at 7. I'll cook. She didn't cook often, not for other adults. Her fridge held more juice boxes than wine, but she threw together roasted chicken, sweet potatoes, and a salad Liam wouldn't touch. Nathaniel arrived with a bottle of wine he never opened. Liam fell asleep early, curled with his favorite blanket on the couch. They sat at the table, not speaking for a while. just breathing. Then Nathaniel leaned forward. I need to tell you something. Claire met his eyes. I already know, she said softly. His brows furrowed. She exhaled. 3.5 years ago, I went through IVF. I picked a donor based on logic, stability, the idea of a future. She stood, walked to the bookshelf, and pulled out the manila envelope. I didn't care who he was. I only cared that he was kind, even on paper, that he left the door open not too wide, just a cautious check mark, open to contact after 18. Nathaniel took the envelope. He didn't open it. He didn't need to. I was 29, he said, lonely, but too proud to say it. I thought donating would be useful, maybe noble, but mostly, I just didn't want to disappear without a trace. Claire whispered, You didn't. Silence thickened. Then Nathaniel said what neither of them had dared voice aloud. Liam is mine. It wasn't a question. Claire nodded. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. His hands curled into fists, then released. You knew, he said. I only figured it out weeks ago. When he started mirroring you, you should have told me. Her throat clenched. I didn't know how. You didn't think I deserved to know it wasn't that, she said quickly. I was protecting him, and myself. I didn't know how you'd react. You were my employer. I am his father. The words landed between them like shattered glass. Claire's voice dropped, biologically. Yes. He stood then, slowly, carefully, like someone climbing out of wreckage. I need air. He didn't slam the door. He didn't raise his voice. But when the lock clicked behind him, Claire collapsed into the chair like something had broken in her. Liam stirred on the couch. Is Nate gone? She crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. Just for now. Sweetheart. He closed his eyes again. He always comes back. Claire wished she believed that. Hours passed. The rain turned into fog. Claire opened her laptop to distract herself, but the screen lit up with a new message. From Nathaniel Ward. Subject not angry. Message, I am not angry. Just overwhelmed. Please give me time. She reread it again and again, fingers hovering over the keyboard, unsure what to type. Eventually, she didn't type anything. She just whispered to the room, Thank you. The next few days fell into an uneasy rhythm. Nathaniel didn't return to the office. No meetings, no requests. The air felt thinner without him. Claire told no one. She went through the motions, briefings, translations, lunchtime crackers with Liam in the break room. Every time her phone buzzed, her breath caught. Liam asked once, between spoonfuls of cereal, Is Mr. Nate mad at me? Claire paused. No, love. He's thinking. Liam nodded solemnly. He thinks a lot. So did she. She thought about the first time she'd seen Nathaniel on a screen. Not in person. Sharp suit, sharper words. A man built of structure. She didn't see that man now. Now, she saw someone fighting the tide, trying to breathe, and maybe, just maybe, choosing to stay. Nathaniel didn't call for 5 days. Not on Monday, not by Wednesday, not even when the quarter-end meetings began and his name was stamped on every agenda. The corridors of Ward Biotech felt strangely muted without his usual crisp presence. No footsteps echoing with certainty. No clipped instructions down the hall. Claire noticed. So did everyone else. But no one asked. Silence, it seemed, was part of his brand. She respected that, and hated it. Each morning, she still checked her phone before stepping out of bed. Each night, she left it on the nightstand, screen facing up, waiting for a name that didn't appear. Liam didn't ask again about Nathaniel. He just folded his socks into perfect little squares and lined them in the drawer, mumbling, He does that too. Claire didn't have the heart to correct him. Her thoughts swirled in soft torment. What if telling the truth had broken something beyond repair? What if some truths, no matter how human, how honest, weren't meant to be shared? What if she'd lost both of them in one night? She told herself it was better this way. Cleaner, more honest. But honesty was a hard bed to sleep in. Friday evening. Just past 8 p.m. The doorbell rang. Claire was still in the kitchen, dishes half done, tea cooling on the counter. She wiped her hands on a towel and opened the door without checking the peephole. Nathaniel stood there. Jeans, gray sweater, no tie, no briefcase, just eyes tired, open, real. Is he asleep? He asked softly. Claire nodded. Just now. Nathaniel stepped in, but didn't move farther. I've been going over the timeline, he began. The donation, the records, the little notes you kept, everything lines up. Claire stayed quiet. She wasn't going to defend what didn't need defense. He looked at her fully. No masks this time. I never thought I'd be a father, especially not this way. Not accidentally. Claire swallowed. Neither did I. He took a breath, but nothing about him feels like an accident. Her heart clenched. I want you to know, he continued, I'm not angry. I believe you. And I know you didn't plan this, didn't trap me. But I also believe we owe him more than ambiguity. Claire blinked. What are you asking? I am not asking for a title, not asking to rearrange your life or mine overnight, but I'd like to be in his life, not as your CEO, not as a stranger with Lego sets, as his father. The words still sounded foreign between them, but it landed softer this time. Claire's arms folded not out of defense, but to still the tremor. That's a big word, I know. They stood in silence for a moment, letting the weight of it settle. I'm not asking for trust right away, he said, but I am asking for time. Time. That she could give. Over the next few weeks, Nathaniel began showing up not daily, not on schedule, but reliably. Sometimes he'd bring puzzles. Other times, just a new storybook or a walk to the park. He asked permission before everything. He never pushed. Claire appreciated that. One Saturday morning, he joined them for breakfast. Liam wanted his toast burnt a little, the way Nathaniel had made it once by accident. They laughed about it. It became a thing. Later that day, while Liam was napping, Claire and Nathaniel sat on the front steps, sipping coffee. He's different with you, she said. Nathaniel raised a brow. In a good way, in a natural way, like his body just relaxes. Nathaniel stared into his cup. So does mine. She looked at him. You don't seem like someone who relaxes easily. I am not. Claire tilted her head. Then what changed? He didn't answer right away. Then quietly, he changed the reason I wake up. She looked away, not because she doubted him, but because it was too much to hold in one breath. They still hadn't told Liam, not officially, not with words. One evening, he crawled onto Nathaniel's lap, Lego block in one hand, and asked, Are you going to stay for dinner again? Nathaniel smiled. If your mom says it's okay. Liam nodded like that answer satisfied something deeper than hunger. Claire set the table in silence. That night, after Liam had fallen asleep across a pillow fort, Claire leaned against the doorframe and watched Nathaniel adjust the blanket over him. He doesn't know yet, she whispered. Not really. Nathaniel stood and turned toward her. Let's not rush it. Claire blinked. That is the first time I've heard you say those words. He chuckled low. Real. Learning something new every day. They walked together into the quiet living room, side by side, not touching but close enough. Claire didn't know what to call this. It wasn't a relationship. It wasn't a deal. It was beginning. And beginnings didn't need contracts. Spring turned to summer without ceremony. The blossoms along the sidewalks near Claire's apartment unfurled slowly, like the pace of her new life unrushed, uncertain, but undeniably growing. Nathaniel had become a rhythm, not a headline, not a breakthrough, just presence. He learned how Liam liked his cereal half milk, never soggy. He knew Claire took her tea black, no sugar, steeped to the edge of bitter. He started staying for breakfast, then dinner, then weekends. There was no announcement, no declarations. He just stayed. One rainy Sunday, Claire found them both asleep on the living room rug, surrounded by Lego cities, crayon drawings, and half-finished puzzles. Liam's small hand rested over Nathaniel's chest. Nathaniel's arm cradled the boy with the kind of tenderness that required no rehearsal. Claire stood there, her breath catching quietly. This wasn't the life she planned, but maybe it was the one she needed. The next day, as she folded laundry, Nathaniel joined her in the hallway, holding a tiny sock between two fingers. "He's got 100 of these, and I still can't find a matching pair," he said with mock defeat. Claire laughed. "Parenthood. Welcome." He leaned against the wall. "Have you thought about telling him she didn't pretend not to understand?" "Every day," she admitted. "But I want to wait until he's old enough to ask the question, not just with curiosity, but with readiness." Nathaniel nodded. "Until it feels right." She looked at him. "You will be there." His answer came without hesitation. "I want to be." Ward Biotech quietly adjusted Claire's contract that summer. Remote flexibility, reduced travel, no fanfare, just a simple acknowledgement that her value wasn't confined to boardrooms or perfectly timed translations. Nathaniel never mentioned it, but she noticed that the approval went through faster than expected. She also noticed he never gave her special treatment, just space, respect, balance, choice. It was the most loving thing anyone had ever done for her. In July, they attended the neighborhood fair as a trio. Liam rode Nathaniel's shoulders, holding a balloon shaped like Saturn, explaining planetary rings like a tiny professor. Claire watched them from a few steps behind, heart quiet but full. No one asked who they were to each other. They didn't need to. Later that month, Liam's daycare hosted Family Day. Claire hesitated, pen poised over the form, guardian attending before she could finish. Nathaniel picked up the pen and filled it in. Nathaniel Ward. The morning of the event, he arrived early, brought snacks, took photos, and helped Liam build a paper rocket that didn't quite fly, but made the loudest giggle when it crashed. When another child asked, "Is that your dad?" Liam looked up, thoughtful, then answered simply, "That is my Nathaniel." Claire's throat tightened. That night, as they stood on the small balcony after Liam had gone to bed, the city buzzing below, Nathaniel held her hand, not as possession, not as performance, but as promise. Claire whispered, "I don't want to lose this." He turned to her, then dawned, "I mean it," she said. "You could leave tomorrow, and I wouldn't have any claim. No court would recognize this." He paused, then smiled, not the one from press releases, but the soft, private kind she'd come to love. "Then let me give you one." She blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, "I want to build something that doesn't need contracts or clinics or contingency plans. Just you, me, Liam, and whatever comes next." She didn't cry, but she almost did. They didn't plan a wedding, didn't even say the word. They just signed a lease, moved in together. They told the world not with posts or parties, but with Tuesday night groceries and Sunday morning pancakes. They introduced themselves at school as his parents. No one questioned it. One night, months later, thunder rolled low outside. Liam crawled into their bed, a small blanket in one hand, a sleepy expression in his eyes. "Can I ask something?" he mumbled. Claire shifted. "Anything, sweetheart." He looked between them, thoughtful. "Did you and Nathaniel fall in love before I came?" Silence hung for a second. Claire glanced at Nathaniel, then smiled. "No," she whispered. "You helped us find it." Liam grinned. "That's cool. Then, like, only a child could." He curled up again between them, secure, whole, home. And just like that, he drifted back to sleep. The world didn't change that night. No parades, no miracles. But their world did. Because some families aren't made by plans or blood or names on paper. Some families are made by choice, by every quiet decision to stay, to listen, to forgive, to grow, together, every single day after. Sometimes, the most life-changing love doesn't come from romance. It comes from being seen, truly seen. Claire didn't ask for pity. Nathaniel didn't ask to be a father. But both chose to show up for a little boy who reminded them what it means to belong. Not by title, not by rules, but by heart. And maybe that's the truth we all need to hold on to. That family is not made by blood alone. It is made by every quiet decision to love someone who doesn't owe you anything. But even as their story gave us warmth, let us not forget the cold reality they came from. A world that still writes clauses banning children from office spaces, that quietly punishes women who choose both motherhood and ambition, that assumes belonging must come with permission. Let this story be more than just a tender ending. Let it be a reminder to challenge the way we judge, label, and divide, because in the end, what we all want is simple: to be chosen, to be safe, to be home. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Shining Stories. There are many more stories waiting, real, raw, and filled with hope, just like this one. We'll see you in the next chapter.